Alright everyone, it's time to bitch about the state of Vermont's stupid regulations again. I'm gonna get into this one. Link in the description, archived of course, Morins Farm over in Morrisville, Vermont. I think I've been through there a couple of times. Pretty nice place. That's most of Vermont. As long as you avoid Burlington and Barrie, basically the rest of Vermont's pretty cool. Brattleboro is kind of seedy at this point too, but it always was. You've always got to have that one town in your state. It doesn't matter how touristy and clean it is. Morins Farm in Morrisville, they have a wood boiler by which they heat their cow barn and the home and so forth, and they burn wood in it. And some time ago, the neighbors complained about it. And so the local environmental regulators went in and inspected and said, well, this is not certified. It's not up to code. You're not allowed to use this wood burner. We're going to come and take it from you. And the farmer dude is like, no, fuck you aren't. I have a feeling there might be a shootout or something there, actually, because old farmers can get kind of ornery. And anyway, I was thinking to myself, here's the state of Vermont's environmental regulations and how terrible they are. First, we'll talk about Slate Ridge briefly. It has nothing to do with wood boilers or farmers or anything like that. That was a training ground for local militia. It's actually not far from here. And at Slate Ridge, they had a number of complaints by neighbors and stuff, and they're doing militia training, so they're shooting and stuff. But they've got a huge property, surrounded by woods and stuff, so they can't do a noise complaint. There were no criminally actionable complaints from any litigants, so they couldn't go after him for doing, like, the training range sort of thing. What did they do? They surveyed the property, and then the environmental courts got involved and said, well, you've built structures on this property without proper permits. You have to tear them down. And the owner of the range actually has fled the state in order to avoid having to deal with the fucking legalese. The point where they made a bill specifically to target just Granite Ridge actually recently by trying to ban militia training in the state, which constitutionally is a no-no, especially since Vermont's constitution actually expands upon the Second Amendment. We're one of the few states that has our own provisions that go beyond. Somehow we still have onerous gun control in the state. It makes no sense. Like, I have to get 10-round mags for the AR. I can't get the standard capacity magazines are illegal. They've been grandfathered in, so you can still obtain them, but it's a legally a gray area, and I don't want no problems. So until that state Supreme Court or federal court case goes forward, or until SCOTUS asserts itself again under the auspices of Bruin, I have to wait for now. I'm patient. I can wait. With Morins Farm, I was thinking, okay, your wood boiler puts out a bunch of smoke because you're burning wood. No shit, Sherlock. I can, right now, pile up a 30-foot stack of wood in my backyard. Open burn. Light it on fire. I can use propellants too. I don't have to wait for, the cardboard and shit to get the whole pile burning. Burn it right up and nobody can do anything about it. Yeah, they might have a complaint about the smell or something like that, but really there's nothing that they can do. There was one time, years ago, when I was charcoaling in the backyard. And this is back when the property over on the side was owned by people that were not so nice as the neighbors that we have now. I try to be nice to the neighbors, I don't raise problems, but I was charcoaling. And of course it puts out a decent amount of smoke. And they called the local fire warden. And the warden comes over, hey, and I look at this, and I'm saying, yeah, that's perfectly fine, because I know that what I'm doing is legal. I have no problem with that. It's like if LEOs or something show up, I don't give a fuck. I don't do anything illegal. There's no illegal activity on this goddamn property. And anyway, they come over, and they look at the charcoal barrel. I'm like, oh, I'm making charcoal. Like, oh, cool. And I'm like, is that a problem? It's like, no, we got a complaint, but what you're doing is legal. It's perfectly fine. As long as you're doing an outdoor burn, you can make as much smoke as you want, unless you're in certain urban areas with specific targeted regulations, like in Burlington proper and you've got your quarter-acre lawn, you don't get in any trouble for it. But if you put it in a wood boiler, all of a sudden that smoke is a problem. Does this make any goddamn sense to anyone whatsoever? I would think you'd want to restrict open burn. As long as you're only burning actual wood and you're not piling plastic or something like that in there, there's nothing they can do. There is no law regarding it. But as soon as you put that in a metal vessel and you use that to heat water or something like that, all of a sudden the environmental courts have a say in what you do. So in other words, if Morin were to go out into his backyard, out into his cornfield, and he just piles up a shit ton of brush and woody debris and sets it on fire so the plume of smoke is visible for 10 miles distant, nobody can do anything about it. But if he starts a similar fire in a metal vessel, and he uses that to heat water so his cows don't fucking freeze to death this winter, then it becomes illegal. That's the state of Vermont's environmental regulations, everyone. It's not about the emissions. It's not genuinely about your neighbors don't like the smell of burning wood, because who doesn't like the smell of burning wood? It's not about anything like that. It's simply about the fact that you're using it for some productive purpose. You're using it to boil water, to make heat. Then it becomes an issue. Not up to code. My God, I can put a metal tank out in the backyard and with water in it, and run a pipe and do a burn underneath it and create boiling water for whatever fucking purpose I happen to want it for. Maybe I'm just eccentric and I decided, hey, if I put a little gearbox on this, and I have a propeller, and I can boil that water and the propeller will just spin faster and faster, and that's just cool. You know, I've decided to become an inventor. I'm crazy now. That's perfectly fine. No problem. No harm, no foul. But if I hook the pipe into the house, and then I do that, and I'm using that to generate heat for the home, then it's illegal. It's amazing. Makes absolutely no goddamn sense at all. It's just like you can't import a 30-round magazine into the state, but if you can get one that was in the state to begin with, it's perfectly legal. The gun laws don't make any sense either. You know, for instance, with the AR platform, you can get an AR pistol. If I were to get an AR pistol, I can put a 15-round mag on that. No problem. But if I were to get one and put it on my AR rifle, I'm breaking the law. I'm committing a felony in the state of Vermont. So the same round, it depends on which gun you affix it to. It's an oblivion of regulation and legalese. It makes absolutely no sense. When I burn logs and shit out back in my burn pile or do a barbecue, you know, I'm thinking about actually having a spit on there, getting like a suckling pig going for this 4th of July or something like that. That's legal. It's perfectly fine. But don't you dare harvest any of that energy for any productive purpose, because then the state's going to come in and monitor the situation. My God. This is Vermont. Historically, this state has been very laid back and laissez-faire. Up until the last few decades, this state was very deregulated for the most part. You didn't need a lot of them. Nobody wants to move a company into the state of Vermont. There's only one part of the state that's hooked up to enough infrastructure to bother, and that's the Champlain Valley. Most of the state is a bunch of mountains and forests and shit, which, by the way, I don't deny I like. I like the fact that there's lots of trees and clean water. I can go out to the fucking river and I'll drink right out of the river and there will be no problems. I don't have to worry about bacteria or parasites or anything like that. It's fucking salamanders and cool fish and all sorts of squiggly little things, and every spring you've got spring peeper frogs. I like it. I like the state of Vermont in that sense. But there are some wacky-ass regulations that don't make sense at all. Fire in metal vessel making smoke? Illegal. Fire in an open pit making even more smoke and not even being used for a productive purpose? Oh, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, no, so see, it's not about the emissions. They don't care if I burn 10,000 acres worth of wood. I can keep that fire going 24/7. There's literally nothing anyone can do about that unless I'm burning something other than actual wood and brush. But if I put it in a metal container and I say, hey, that's free heating for the house. Well, that's pretty cool. You know, it slices off the energy bill. I'm burning the wood anyway. No, you're not allowed to do that. You have to be up to code. Because there might, you know, the neighbors complained, or there might be a problem. Your boiler is too old and it's not emission friendly enough. Okay, well, I guess Morins should just take all of the trees and shit on his property and haul in some wood from elsewhere. Make a great big whacking pile and light it on fire. The neighbors will complain, but there's nothing they can do about it. Just to make a fucking goddamn point. So, sorry, Farmer Morin. Yeah, regulations are a fucking bitch now, aren't they? That's about all. Peace out.